So I start recording now. Okay. So today we are going to discuss about validation and data notation. And then second topic, we are going to discuss that how we will handle the error handling in ASP.NET Core. And after then we will discuss about dependency injection, because everybody know that in ASP.NET Core, dependency injection is default, right? So it is a built-in, like previously we are developing the dependency injection. Now we have to not do any development. We have to just inject the things, and then we will able to get the functionality of dependency injection. And then fourth one, we are going to discuss about microservices. Maybe some of us already aware about microservices. So anyone who want to start about validation and data notation? Anyone as a volunteer? Hello, Atul.
Hi, Pankaj.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good, dear. How
So
are you?
would you like to speak about data notation and validation?
Um, Basically, we have used font validation with the .NET Core. So I have not used the data annotation for .NET Core, but in previous MVC, I was fine. We have the same type of data notation here as well. We have the namespace data annotation, data dot annotation that we need to refer, and we can have the same kind of data annotation like required, range, or JSON, something like that. So basically, we are using the font validation. That is totally different from the data notation.
So would you like to give
But if you
some
want,
information what the validation you are using as of now?
so basically, this font validation is kind of validation that we use for the client purpose, client side purpose, and with this validation, we have the it has basically its own kind of declaration. You can it's like a defining the rule. You can just it's an abstract class. You inherit the suppose I want to push some checking mechanism on a particular class that I will just inherit that from that particular abstract class, and after that we will just imply some rules for that, like uh, for integer. So we have the dot notation here. We just point out dot, and we can just have the multiple option intelligence for the particular functionality greater than means any class that you are just providing you any instance of that particular property, you can define the multiple rules for that. So it's kind of programming there. Data notation gives you the feasibility of just if you just square bracket and you write the required but in the font validation you just need to make a rule for that. So somewhere data notation is uh, is good by nature, by just implementation way, and somewhere when you need some customized, then you just use the font validation. That is gives you the more scope just to express your logic.
Okay. So anyone who want to elaborate little bit more about validation and data notation in ASP.NET Core? No? Okay. So As Atul have given the idea that what is validation, like whenever I have one input box, in that I want that it should take integer, or I have a password, that password and confirm password, then both should be same. And range, I want that age should be greater than 18, or age should be between 18 to 50. So required field and string length should be this much, and minimum length, maximum length. So these are the things, if we want to implement in our project, then we can get the functionality of validation and data notation. So these things you can do at client side as well as server side. Whatever the validation is already provided by the Microsoft, we can create our own custom validations also. Just we need to inherit the property validate attribute. So in the validate attribute, we have a lot of method. That particular method is defined as a virtual. And whenever we will inherit the validate attribute class, then we can override their existing method, and we can write our own if and but, whatever the condition we want to put, we can put there. So as we all are the experienced person, we know that what's mean by validation. So here we can put two validation. One is client side, means I don't want to send the request to the server. Before that, I want to catch. For that, we can write the server side and client side validation. So just if someone have done the work in MVC, same way we have the validation in ASP.NET Core also. Like on the top of method, we can pacify, on the top of property, we can pacify required, range, and maximum, minimum. And whenever hit will come to my controller, that time we can check model state, that the model state is valid or not. In case it is valid, then we can perform our task. In case it is not valid, you can it will reject the things, right? So these are the things which we have. As I earlier told you that we have some HTML helper tag, that is validation summary. In that, whatever the validation you have implemented, if it is not according to that, then it's gonna to give the errors. And second, we have model state also, like is valid. It will check that whether it is valid or not. And you can check by items. You can check that how many count, what is the count of error, what is exactly error, and how many property we have inside model. So, and you can clear also. You can clear specific one by name, by key name. You can clear by all also. You can put the validation related to phone, email, credit card, compare, which we discussed earlier, and mail. So these are the things which we can do, like range also, and we can put some regular expressions according to our requirement. Like somewhere we have requirement that only Mr., Mrs. should come, any other word should not come there. Then we can put there as a regular expression also. Everybody is aware about expression, right? Regular expression. We can put the validation of URL. So anyone have any question in this? No? Should we move then to our next topic?
Pankaj, John here.
Hi,
I have
John.
one question.
Yeah.
Yeah, how we have to work on that custom validation part?
So custom validations means whatever the validation is already exist, if that is not fulfilling your requirement, right, then we can create the custom validator. Then we need to give the class name, and we need to inherit the class validate attribute. And in that validate attribute, we have is valid property, and we have validate, another validate, then two string. So a lot of methods and property we have inside validate attribute. And basically we use the is validate. And then we can override in our existing class by inheriting validate attribute. And after then implementation will be same. As we are implementing the required range, credit card, regular expression, that will be the same as your custom validator. Only you need to take care that you have to inherit the validate attribute. Hey Jitendra, can you not? You cannot hear me. So anyone can hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
can
Pankaj.
hear.
We can. Yes, we can, Pankaj.
Okay. So Jitendra, maybe if you are not able to hear me, you can re-log in. Maybe after then you will be able to hear me. So John, you got the answer?
Yeah, Pankaj. I got it.
Okay. Anyone else have question related to, like, it is very simple topic, right? Because most of the person have already done the work in MBC, but still we want to, we don't want to miss any simple topic also. So anyone have a question related to validation, so that if not, then we will move next.
Pankaj, how it works from the client side, because the code for the validation is written on the server side, right?
Right, right.
But as we know that we can perform the validation client side as well as the server side. So how it works on the client side? Because without going to the server side code, how it executes?
Right. Anyone who can explain that how we are doing in MBC? Anyone?
We need to add package. I think it's a JavaScript package, unsupportive like that. I don't remember.
Right, right.
Using this. Am I right, Pankaj?
Yes, you are right. We need to add that package, and then there will be one JavaScript file which we need to add, and then it will start working.
Right.
Do we need to define anywhere that whether this code will be executed on the client side or at the server side?
I think it's good to we can validate from both sides, right? First,
Right.
Lots of
That is fine. That is fine. But where we need to define that whether it's a client side validation or it's a server side validation.
I think if we are not setting any validation on model, it's a our C# class, then unsupportive JavaScript. I think this will help to validate only for the client side, as per my understanding. Right, Pankaj, or am I wrong?
On top of it, I would like to add some more points. Suppose that users disable that client side validation, right? So that
Right.
validation is not working in client side. So in that scenario, we have to validate on server side also. So it is always we have to add client side validation and server side validation.
Yes, yes. A good practice means we can have validation of both sides. This means
Okay.
forcefully anyone disable the validation, so we can manage validation from the server side as well.
Mhm.
Yes.
But my question is, suppose there is a control, suppose text box. If you want to perform the client side validation, so do you need to define that explicitly anywhere in the code that this will be a client side validated or this should be server side validated? Do you need to write any type of a specific keyword anywhere?
Yeah, we need
I
to.
think we need to
that
add
we can use.
script.
Okay, okay, one by one,
We
please.
need to add
Continue.
script. Okay, as per my understanding, I think we need to add the script file on the this view where we want to validate. Suppose we one of the view containing the text box, right? So in that view, we need to add this script on the section or means and at the bottom.
So suppose for a particular control, I have the requirement just for the client side validation. Okay,
Mhm.
and for and on another control in the same view, another control I want to have server side validation. So how would you manage that if you are just adding that particular script file in the view section?
So we have two files. One is underscore layout.cshtml and validation script partial.cshtml. In that, we have to specify the one file as a like CDNA, we can say, and we have to specify first jQuery minimum JS, right? And after then we have jQuery validator, and then third one will be the jQuery validator Astroprius file is there. We have to give that reference. Yeah, so these one things which we need to do.
Okay, but on the control level, you need not to define whether it's a control server side validation or client side validation.
Just you have.
This
We
is
need
what
to
you
give
want
the.
to say.
We need to give the reference
Okay.
on our validation validation script partial cs.html page.
Okay.
So any other
Got it.
question? Any other question?
No.
Okay. Anyone else?
No, Pankaj.
No. Should we move next? Okay. So anyone
Yes,
can explain. Anyone can explain that how we are handling the error handling in ASP.NET Core.
So basically, as I told you in the first session that I was using the middleware for the .NET Core API. And one more thing, I have created one component for the error handling. Basically, this is the NuGet component that I have created and posted on the server. So I have just taken as and that is the analog component, but we have created in our NuGet library.
What is the
So
name of that package? What is the name?
Error handler, but you will not be able to see because it is on our own server, and that is accessible in our premises only.
Okay, that means that you have developed that.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So basically, NuGet component, we have just created the functionality of capturing the error using the analog. Okay, and we just converted that complete portion of handling the error into the NuGet component, and in the middleware we used that particular component and just using that. So basically, as everyone knows that analog have the three targets: email, files, and database. So we are performing all type of error handling mechanisms.
So basically, it means log the error somewhere else, right? So maybe email,
No.
file, or means data. So
Mailbox is defined. Basically, it will just provide you the functionality. You need to define particular path where you want to have the log file. You have the mailbox where you want to get the email, and third one is the database where there is a particular SP that is executed when any error occurs.
okay, so we need to set some configuration for that, right?
Yes, and log.config.
Okay, we need to specify everything, right? Means for email,
Yes,
text file, and whatever.
Even you can define the format of the error. means
Okay.
how inner track, stack, or error message, how would you want to see that?
Okay. Which type of means error we want, right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So, but means basically in error handling, we need to means throw some error on our means a component or means something else, some
So
classes, right?
basically, there are multiple ways of handling the error. Like you just put it try and catch, right?
Right.
Whenever any error comes in the try block, it throws to the catch block. Or you
Mm-hmm.
can explicitly throw the error using the throw keyword, right? And
Mm-hmm.
catch on a single space where you want. And third one is the beauty of this .NET Core, that you can use the middleware. Means you need not to write everywhere, try and catch. You just middleware comes into the picture when the request and response is being transmitted. Means after before the request comes to the server and after the response goes to the client side. So this layer is called the middleware. So when we
Mm-hmm.
use that particular middleware, suppose from the request, after processing the request, any function gives the error. So it will go through the middleware where you can just catch the error and just perform whatever the action you want to perform. So you need not to write it, try and catch it anywhere else. You just catch that error and just write your mechanism.
Right. So based on response, it will means trigger, right? So suppose if
Yes,
any exception in our response, means so maybe some
yes,
type
yes.
of status code, right? For 501 means, right?
That depends on your implementation part. Suppose
Okay.
what type of error you want to perform, you can just define the case mechanism as if is SQL type, or so return 504, or if
Right.
it is not found. So that depends on your implementation part. But how it is implemented, that I am letting you know.
Right. Right. I'm trying to understand means suppose I have one API, right? I just hit it and
Hmm.
it's throw some exception, right? Maybe
Hmm.
some you can say divide by zero or means some database exception, right?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
instead of returning success response, it return something else, right?
Yes.
So in middleware, once we return response back to the client, before that means
Hmm.
this trigger and this log the error, right?
Yes, suppose if there was no error, so your
Hmm.
controller method will return okay, right, with the
Yes,
response object. Okay,
right.
if
Hmm.
any error comes, it will go to the middleware where you have kept your error handling mechanism. You will log that particular error and return the particular code according to the error. Means if it is related to database, you will return 502 or something else,
Hmm.
whatever you want to send to the particular client, because client is not interested what you have done the mistake. So
Right, right.
that you logged in your database, email, and log file, and same time you just pass that particular meaningful error to the client, that there is some technical glitch, or contact your administrator,
Hmm.
something like that.
Right, right, right. I
Um,
understand because
hmm.
means all the errors that we are capturing, it is means for the it's helpful for the developer.
So
It
so
is there and
basically, using the middleware, it gives you the feasibility, flexibility, just to implement the error handling. Means this is the one use of that particular middleware. You can have multiple uses of that middleware, and you just need to register that middleware in your startup.cs. Means that is the register method now on
mm,
startup.cs,
right.
register services or register something there.
Yeah, right.
So you
Configure.
just need to just define. Sorry, anybody is speaking?
Yeah, I was saying configure in
Yeah,
startup.
yeah,
Yeah, John, continue.
Right,
yes.
right.
Yeah, I would
Sorry,
like to,
not register is configure.
yeah, I would
So
like to
you
add
need
some
to
more
just
points here.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, you can continue. Atul, you
Please,
can continue.
please go ahead.
Yeah. So I would like to add some more points on top of it. So there is a one method is there in startup.cs, that configure method. Inside that configure method, we can inject that middleware. Okay, so
Mhm.
whether it is an giving an option, we have in ASP.NET Core giving an option. So based on that option for that environment, so using that environment option, we can inject that middleware. It is if it is on a development environment, use that development exception page, or else it is an UAT or it is in production. We can define it in our configuration files. Based on the configuration, we have to inject that exception pages. Else it is you can add some custom exception page as well. That one method is there for that use exception handler. So middleware, we can overload that function as well. So we have to create a separate file for that for exception pages. We can pass that page in that middleware, so we can handle that custom exception as well.
Okay.
Are you
Right,
clear?
right. Yes, yes. We need to register everything if you want using in pipelines, right?
Yes,
So in
exactly.
register, right? Okay. Got it.
So whenever we want to handle exception in ASP.NET Core, first we need to install one NuGet package manager, that is Microsoft.ASP core.diagnose. One package which we need to install in our project, right? After then we will get two things. As John said, we will get the use developer exception page. It will be very costly, and whenever we need to implement that, then environment should be like development and staging, right? In the production, we should not use that. So whenever for the development purpose, because it give developer friendly message whenever any error will come, and whenever any error is coming, then as a developer we need developer friendly errors, like what is the error and what is the status code. We need some little bit other detail also. And second is use exception handler, and that handler we use in the production environment. So we will put a condition that if development or staging, then use developer exception page, otherwise use exception handler, and then we will in case of error, we will route to our we will create one controller as a exception controller, and we will have a one method as a exception. Then it will redirect there, and that exception page will get appear in front of us. So one information to everyone, just after 5 minutes, Zoom meeting will get expire. So we need to rejoin, right? In case it get expire after 5 minutes. Yeah, anyone have any question related to exception handling in ASP.NET Core? Anyone? We are 15%. If no, then we can move to next. Okay, I have one question. Maybe somebody can respond on that. In startup file, we have two methods. One is configure, another is configure service. In configure, I have app.run and app.use. So what is the difference between these two, app.use and app.run? Anyone? John, Atul, Prabhat, anyone?
I'm sorry, Pankaj. I forgot about.
Okay. Anyone else who can give little bit detail? Maybe you can in the background you can do some Google also.
Hello.
Yeah, Jitendra, please.
Hello.
Yeah, Jitendra, I can hear you. Continue.
Pankaj, and
Yeah.
in the in the the use method, we just we just in the pipeline after an execution one middleware, it's just come to the second middleware in the use method whenever we use. And once we are using the map method, it's just terminate that current pipeline and just the controller is go out. And in that case, node comes to the second level middleware in a map method. That is.
Okay. Anyone want to give some highlight about exception handling, or maybe you have any question? No? Then should we move next? Then third topic which we are going to discuss today about dependency injection.
Pankaj,
Yeah, John.
Pankaj,
Yeah,
Pankaj,
John.
can you
Continue.
please a little bit? Yeah. No. I'm asking. Could you please brief about that app.use and app.run?
Yeah, Jitender, would you like to put little bit more? Can you repeat again, Jitender?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, please.
In the app.run method, we just use the middleware pipeline and execute. After we just terminate that one, right? And whenever we use the app.use method, it's execute one pipeline and just come on the second pipeline. And whenever we use the app.run method, it is just execute that current pipeline and terminate that thing. So this is the difference between app.run and app.use.
Okay, Jitan. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
John, can you explain that again?
Yeah. As per my understanding, so that app.use method, it is going to executing on that next middleware as well. If it is a run method, if it is executed and immediately terminate the pipeline. Am I right?
Yes, right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
Thank you.
right.
Thank you, Jitendra.
Okay. Then we have next topic, that is again, I'm going to repeat that in the assumption field, in the assumption that how we will catch the assumption in ASP.NET Core. First, we need to add one NuGet pack manager, that is diagnosis. And then we have two methods. One is developer assumption, another is assumption page, right? If we are running in the development environment or staging, then we will use developer assumption. If we are going to production, then we will use assumption page only. Then we are moving to next, that is dependency injection. So anyone who want to put some highlight about dependency injection, because we have done a lot of work related to dependency injection in C#, right? So anybody who want to speak about dependency injection? John, would you like to put highlight? John, Gurdas, and one name Madhur, Dharmendra, Deepak. No?
We can say, Pankaj,
Yeah.
It can be simply saying about that dependency injection is a decoupling of object creation. Instead of creating each and every time we have to creating a new object. So that dependency objection providing that facility to decouple that object creation for each and every time.
Correct. So basically dependency injection is that instead of when we want to reuse some functionality, right, instead of writing same thing again, we can just inject write to one where and inject same thing anywhere without writing. We can use same thing that we are writing in one place. Only we need to inject and use that instead of writing.
It can be to avoid each and every time creating an object in a particular class.